And if you saw my Flats 2 vid that went out that talked about I got to play her a little bit beforehand, they kind of just needed someone to stand in to test shit. But I felt like she was really not that good, other than the hack the tank playstyle was super strong. We're going to get to it in a minute, but I saw a tweet from like Overwatch Cavalry, and apparently there's a dev stream where she looks very different from what I touched. So I don't want to jump to conclusions just yet, because everyone's going to go, you're overreacting. But from what I played, I didn't think she was that strong, other than the hack the tank playstyle was super good. But then it looks like they buffed every stat. They pretty much pulled a Life Weaver. So take that as you will. We'll talk about it when we get there. Hola, amigos. Andre Abrahamin? I don't know who this is. From the Hero Design team. I'm actually not familiar with this person, so if I have to how to say your last name, I deeply apologize. I'm sorry. I'm really not good with names. Subbing in for Aaron this week, I wanted to share with you an in-depth journey through the most recent changes to Sombra, our notorious stealthy hacker, since her release in 2016. Sombra has received many changes, including a rework for Overwatch 2's launch. Now the team brings changes to this iteration on Sombra once again. When we look at each Overwatch hero, we are guided by general values to provide a great hero experience. When we look at each hero, we are guided by general values. Is this just like a different way of saying Heroes Fantasy? Because that's very notorious, that they pretty much come up with a Heroes Fantasy of what a character is supposed to be, and then they don't really divert from it. Anyways, each hero should have clear strengths and weaknesses, and that can be tuned accordingly. A hero's impact on a match should be felt by you, your team, and the enemy team. That impact should be clear enough to inform counterplay, so that the enemies infer how to respond to a particular hero or their abilities. That's actually quite ironic to say when you have a character that is invisible permanently, because how do you counterplay invisibility? With these points in mind, we felt that Sombra did not have the correct building blocks for her long-term place in the game, and that's where we started our latest approach to rework. Establishing the goals. We approached the Sombra rework by identifying key goals to guide discussions throughout the design iteration process. Make Sombra commit to the fight more when engaging, so that explains the translocator. Increase the active feel in her ability kit. That's probably the virus. And uphold the current hacker identity and playstyle. Yeah, bingo, there it is. The Heroes Fantasy, they will not. The whole hack thing, which in my opinion was the whole reason for having a rework, because hack is really, really ass to play against. I know it's like her whole identity, but that's kind of what I expected the rework to entail, but it is what it is. With these goals, there were multiple angles to tackle around her kit. Naturally, many ideas were also meant to address frustrations playing against the character, ensuring there's proper counterplay for the opposing team. I just don't know if there's ever a world where there's counterplay against a perma-invisible character. You know, like, how? Translocator is a very versatile tool for map traversal and safe escapes. The teleport is often discussed as a get-out-of-jail-free ability. True, because Sombra can escape as she chooses before enemies can deal a fatal blow. Due to the nature of Overwatch's fast-paced gameplay, it's not common to hunt for Sombra's Translocator as a form of counterplay. True. It is especially difficult to catch Sombra in Overwatch 2 due to the game-wide reduction to stun frequency. There are also common gameplay styles that leave the Translocator in safe regions, such as not near a health pack, and perform a rinse and repeat strategy of solo engaging enemies. That is true. While playing a lone wolf can sometimes be viable, we want to still have these moments of active cooperation with nearby allies. Yeah, this really explains like why the new Sombra is what it is, because like if you do the lone wolf solo flank style, at least from when I played it, you just get rolled. But then again, everything got buffed since then, so who knows. When starting our iteration, we tackled each of these aspects for Translocator, wanting to make sure it's more involved in combat. Stealth is a powerful and unique tool to Sombra's arsenal, granting invisibility. Naturally, invisibility can be difficult to balance in a competitive multiplayer game. Now you're getting it. We often discuss certain strengths around the stealth mechanic, such as the capability to hack while using stealth. Yeah, this is going to be very interesting when we get down to the numbers here in a second. I want you to remember that, such as the capability to hack while using stealth. To activate stealth at any time the cooldown is viable or available, and the infinite duration, we wanted to address each of those concerns during our iterations to see what we can learn from changing them. Hack is one of the strongest parts of Sombra and has received many changes throughout Overwatch's history. We discussed this mechanic at great length, since this was an opportunity to try new ideas and learn from them. Many different versions of Hack we tried throughout the rework, and the most common discussion was about how Hack could be used while invisible. Yeah, that's true, but I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I feel like the best Sombras canceled their invis as they went for Hack. So there was a little tech you could do that you could start the hack as you canceled the invis, and so by the time your hack finished, the animation where you're coming out of invisibility would finish, so you could basically start shooting the second hack is done, which was arguably what most players did. Anyways, we moved ahead with wanting to explore new hack debuff possibilities. Based on these highlighted aspects of each mentioned ability, we tackled various combination of changes to find a formula that felt right for Sombra players and all other players. We didn't want to nerf Sombra though. We wanted to make sure Sombra had more counterplay and could be even more engaging to use. Okay, that, you know, if that was their goal, I actually think that they might have accomplished that in some ways. This led to multiple iteration cycles of playtesting and reacting to internal feedback to find the best version of Sombra rework that we are happy with. All right, iteration and feedback. The early iterations of Sombra started off with rather drastic changes on each ability to gain new design insights. Holy shit, this thing is way longer than I thought it was going to be. Okay, we're almost to the numbers. We'll be there soon. An early idea for hack involved making it no longer silence abilities, but instead would deal damage to the enemy if they used any ability. Interesting. This proved to not be clear enough for enemies to know how they were taking damage. Yeah, I could see that. And they did not have consistent output between each usage, since it is relying on the enemy player to react. Other iteration was to make enemies deal less damage for a duration. That would have been awful. This change struggled because of the damage reduction value was low, and then it would go unnoticed, and if the value was high, then it would quickly become oppressive. Yep. Other hack changes were tried, but they did not stick because of lacking clarity and impact to enemies. We eventually kept the same hack debuff, but made hacking an enemy cancel stealth. That doesn't... Yeah, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one, Chief. Because, like, I understand that it was like, it just keeps you from, like, perma hacking you in Viz. Most of the good Sombras, when they were going for the hack play, would actually come out of Invis at the same time, you know, at least when they were going for kills. The only time that they weren't is if they were just like harassing you with hack, which was kind of weird. This worked well because it made Sombra more committed to engaging the enemy and gave the opposing team a consistent opportunity to respond to her. Translocator had... okay, that's very interesting because they buffed the hack speed now. Translocator had several iterations alongside stealth. Since they were both Sombra's mobility and escape tools, an early idea was giving Translocator a short duration so that it could be used during combat. We quickly noticed that Sombra players would prefer to try and use their Translocator in safe spots before engaging. We also learned that this change was pushing Sombra's gameplay style to be closer to the team engagements, which we kept in mind with other changes. I actually don't understand what their change was originally, but okay. Stealth had early changes of becoming a dash ability. That would have been funny. Giving a jolt of movement and a very short duration of unbreakable stealth. While interesting to have, Sombra quickly glimpsed in and out of stealth during fights. Any players were unhappy with no counterplay for unbreakable stealth. Yeah, that makes sense. And Sombra players wanted more time to flank behind enemy lines. Eventually, we consolidated the changes to making Translocator a fast teleport and stealth a passive ability, giving Sombra quicker maneuvers while within combat, allowing enemies to have more opportunities to react to her. I don't know if I totally agree with the more opportunities to react part, but we talked about the opportunist passive and decided to remove it, making room for the new stealth passive, while also removing the passive elements of automatically revealing enemies and gaining bonus impact gun damage. Okay, that makes sense with the changes down below. But I think personally, when I played her before, I don't think she had the damage buff yet. That's why it shouldn't feel that impactful. We wanted to turn these passive opportunist elements into something more actively noticeable. With this closely competitive version of teleporting and stealth, we started balancing the survivability and some more lethality, excuse me, which led to exploring many possibilities of new damage ability. The new damage ability, okay. Exploring new abilities. With the mobility and survivability in place we felt happy with, we began iterating on forms of damage. Along a list of ideas was explored, ranging anywhere from cybernetic devices to digital malware. Sounds very cyberpunky. I've been playing Cyberpunk this week. An early idea off the top of the list was a laser wire trap. That sounds kind of cool. An idea from her original design, Sombra would place a trap on a wall, and it would automatically trigger on nearby enemies to deal damage and slow. Playtests showed that it took too much prepping the trap and had a little to no possibility of effect during combat. So we went back to the drawing board. Yeah, because it sounds kind of like a invisible widow mine, right? Another ability was called cybernetic wire that would deal damage in an arc, dealing damage to the enemies at low health. The intent was to secure kills as a finishing blow style ability. This felt too oppressive because of the high amount of instant damage that could be dealt to multiple enemies at once. Wait, what? Wait, how does this work? I understand what they're saying, bonus damage, but like, how did you apply it? It was sometimes difficult for Sombra to perceive the physical range in first person while simultaneously using the machine pistol. There were many problems. Though there were many problems, there was excitement around this new form of damage, and we pivoted to skill shot ability ideas. Interesting. Eventually, the ability became known today as Virus, as born as a projectile that deals damage over time. It synergized well with the ranged playstyle, and enemies had more time to respond to the damage over time. We learned that this is a new form of damage and can make Sombra players less likely to hack enemies when engaging out of stealth. So we explored a bonus interaction when Virus impacted hacked targets. Some of the bonus Virus impact damage ideas were reducing its cooldown when hitting hacked enemies, or spreading the damage to nearby targets. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Neither of these felt very clear to the enemy players. We settled with the idea of making Virus deal faster damage over time for hacked targets, since that had a better balance for enemies to notice and react to the effects. Once we were happy with this rework was heading, multiple playtests were hosted across the team to collect more feedback and fine-tune the numeric balance. Further playtests helped us tweak changes in the rework, such as making Translocator also reduce the passive stealth cooldown, giving some extra survivability back to Sombra. I don't know if I should say. I kind of want to give credit to whose idea this is. This was someone's idea. This is a creator's idea. And it's really good. This is a really good idea. Emong talked about it already. Alright, it was Emong. It was Emong's idea. It was Emong's idea. Yeah, Emong came up with this. Because when they threw the translocator, like, you could just chase her down and hunt her instantly. So he came up with the idea of, like, once you throw it, you go into stealth cooldown a little bit faster. Everybody, like, you actually, like, saw, like, everybody, and, like, it's just like, wait, that's smart. That's genius. So, anyways, overall, we finished the rework with the changes you start seeing in Season 7. A quick teleport version of Translocator for a more combinative and trackable Sombra. A passive stealth that gives enemies time to react to Sombra before she escapes. And the new Virus ability that gives Sombra more lethality. Okay, let's talk about this. Okay, like real talk, let's actually talk about this. This is buff since I touched it. This is the same. This is the same. This is the same. So she's obviously just straight up damage buff, so that will probably make her better. This is a straight up buff. This changed. Remember that Sombra video we watched the other day? Is he on my list for making Sombra somewhat viable? Remember the thing the other day? 0.65 hack is extremely quick. Extremely quick. Like, that is very hard to react to. Yeah, you come out of stealth at the same time, but most of the time when you're playing Sombra, like, you'd come out of stealth as you're hacking somebody anyways. Like, very rarely you didn't. Cancel stealth with hacking. Okay, that's the same. Cooldown increase from 4 to 6 seconds. That was the same, I believe. Hack has a reduced cooldown of 3 seconds if hack is interrupted or if a non-hero enemy is hacked. I think that's the same. I don't actually totally remember that one. It could be. I don't actually fully remember that one, but yeah. Opportunities removed, that's the same. Ability reworked is a passive. Stealth movement speed bonus reduced from 60 to 45. That is drastically increased. When we played it was like 30. Power walking Sombra was hilarious. Well, she felt so slow though, so not surprised, but again, another straight up buff. Fade out of stealth reduced from 0.375 to 0.25. I think this is a straight buff. I don't think she came out that quick. I don't remember that. Fade in duration stealth reduced from 0.5 to 0.375. I think that sounds about right. I'm actually not 100% sure on that one. Virus. This impact damage is definitely increased. I forgot because I didn't think it did. I remember it didn't do 100. I remember someone mentioning it didn't do 100, but now it would do 100, even if you weren't hacked. So, because it does more than 100 if you get hacked. So I think the impact got buffed. Translocator can no longer manually activated. Translocator will now automatically teleport Sombra after 0.25 seconds from being thrown or when it's impacting the environment. That's the same. Reduces the stealth passive cooldown after teleporting. That's new. That's Emong's idea. Projectile speed increased from 25 to 72. That's the same. Cooldown reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. I think that's a buff. I think it was still on 6 seconds. Projectile launch initial vertical offset removed. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not 100% sure. There was something weird about the camera when you threw it originally. EMP ultimate charge cost increased by 15%, and health percent damage decreased from 40 to 30. I don't actually remember if the EMP was changed, to be fair, when we played her. Anyways, though, moving forward, we hope this offers more insight into our development process behind hero reworks and our intentions for Sombra's ability changes. These iterations are focused on making Sombra a more fun and exciting hero to play, and less frustrating hero to play against. I think if you're a tank player, it'll be the same, but if you're like a support in DPS, it'll definitely be less infuriating. At least I think so. Because like a lot of time, like DPS and like if you played like Winston, or example, or like Tracer or something, you just chase down the Sombra every time and she just instantly died. Or Sojourn. Sojourn was actually pretty good. We feel this is a new version of Sombra will provide new combative playstyles and clear experience for all players. We will continue to watch how Sombra performs going forward, and will adjust balance when the time is right. As with all heroes in Overwatch, Sombra is important to us, and we value any feedback from our amazing community. Thanks for reading. Boop. Yeah, I'm not ringing all the alarm bells on this one, but I did want to correct overall my original thoughts of like she didn't seem like that strong, just like really strong versus tank still. That was my original assessment, but now that she's got like a bunch of buffs, it looks like since then, it's hard not to say, hey guys, maybe it's a little stronger than when I touched it, you know? Because like obviously there's a lot of buffs in there. So I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to see whenever we get a chance to play her live. But yeah, so now you got at least the numbers for Sombra stuff. Personally, I've already talked about how I feel about like the whole perma invis and you know how hack works, and I don't think you're ever going to be able to balance hack where it's not ass to play against. So